In the spring of 1427, the highlands of northern Vietnam echoed with a sound no emperor had ever heard before, the roar of 300,000 farmers turned soldiers, marching not for gold or glory, but for rice, land, and the right to live free from foreign chains. They had risen against the Ming dynasty of China, which had ruled Vietnam as a province for 2 decades, imposing brutal taxes, erasing local customs, and shipping Vietnamese scholars to Beijing in cages. Led by the scholar General Le Loi, they fought a guerrilla war from jungle hideouts, using bamboo traps, poisoned arrows, and sheer desperation. After 10 years of sacrifice, they won. At the Battle of Ta Jong Chuch Jong, they annihilated a 100,000-strong Ming army. The Chinese fled. Vietnam was free. But freedom did not bring justice. Within months of victory, Le Loi, now Emperor Le Thai, ordered the disbandment of his peasant army. Those who resisted were branded rebels. Those who demanded land were called ingrates, and those who spoke of shared power were imprisoned, exiled, or executed. The very men who had bled in the rice paddies were stripped of arms, denied rewards, and erased from the new imperial narrative. Their names vanished from chronicles. Their villages were taxed anew. Their dream of a just society was replaced by a new dynasty that looked suspiciously like the old order-only Vietnamese. This is the untold story of the Lam Sơn Uprising, a revolution that succeeded on the battlefield, only to fail in peace. In 1407, the Ming dynasty of China conquered Jai Nu, modern Vietnam, ending the short-lived Ho dynasty. What followed was not governance, but subjugation. The Ming renamed the land Jiaozi Province and treated it as a colony to be exploited. They imposed heavy taxes in rice and labor. They banned Vietnamese language in official records. They confiscated ancestral lands and redistributed them to Chinese settlers. Worst of all, they kidnapped Vietnamese intellectuals, over 6,000 scholars, monks, and artisans, and shipped them to Beijing as tribute, where many died in obscurity. The people suffered in silence until one man refused to bow. Le Loi, a wealthy landowner from Thanh Hoa province, had initially collaborated with the Ming. But when they seized his family's lands and executed his uncle for sedition, he retreated to the mountains of Lam Son and raised the banner of rebellion in 1418. His message was simple: we fight not for empire, but for our fields. At first, he had only 18 followers, his relatives and servants. But word spread. Farmers abandoned their plows. Fishermen left their nets. Blacksmiths forged spears from plowshares. Within a year, his force numbered 10,000. Within 5, over 100,000. By 1426, it was said that 300,000 men, a symbolic number representing the collective will of the peasantry, had taken up arms under the Lam Sơn banner. This was no feudal levy. The Lam Sơn army was a true people's militia. Soldiers brought their own tools. Hoes doubled as weapons, fishing nets became traps, and rice sacks carried supplies. Women served as scouts, medics, and spies. Children ran messages through enemy lines. Their tactics were born of necessity. Knowing they could not match the Ming in open battle, Le Loi's General Nguyen Chich devised a strategy of empty fort, full stomach. Lure the enemy deep into hostile territory, cut their supply lines, and strike when they were weak. At the Battle of Ta Jong in 1426, they ambushed a 30,000-man Ming column in a narrow valley, using fire arrows and hidden pits lined with bamboo stakes. Over 5,000 Ming soldiers died in a single day. The peasants fought with a ferocity that stunned the Chinese. A Ming commander wrote in despair, They do not fear death, for they have nothing left to lose, and they had everything to gain. Le Loi promised land reform, tax relief, and the restoration of Vietnamese law. In liberated zones, councils of elders governed alongside military leaders. For the first time, ordinary people tasted self-rule. In 1427, the Ming sent their largest expedition yet, 150,000 troops under General Wang Tong. Le Loi, now commanding a disciplined army of 300,000, encircled them at Chilong Pass. Using feigned retreats and night raids, he destroyed the Ming vanguard. Wang Tong surrendered. The remaining Chinese forces evacuated Vietnam within weeks. On April 15, 1428, Le Loi declared the founding of the later Li dynasty and took the throne as Emperor Le Thai To. He issued the Bin Ngo Jai Cao, Great Proclamation upon the pacification of the Wu, a document hailed as Vietnam's Declaration of Independence. It declared, "Our people have always been masters of this land. Heaven and earth bear witness to our righteousness." But the proclamation said nothing about the farmers who made it possible. Peace revealed the revolution's fatal flaw. It had no plan for power sharing. Le Loi, now emperor, needed stability, not democracy. To the Confucian scholars who advised him, the idea of peasant rule was anarchy. The new state required hierarchy, ritual, and centralized control. The very militias that had defeated the Ming were now seen as dangerous. In 1429, the emperor issued the Edict of Disarmament. All former soldiers were to surrender their weapons and return to farming. Those who kept arms were labeled bandits. Local warlords who had led regional units were summoned to court and never seen again. The legendary General Tran Nguyen Hun, who had commanded the Northern Front, was accused of treason and forced to drown himself in the Red River. Land promises evaporated. Instead of redistribution, the court granted estates to loyal nobles and mandarins, many of whom had sat out the war in comfort. Peasants who had fought for 10 years found themselves paying higher taxes than under the Ming. Worst of all, the official histories began to rewrite the past. The Jai Viet Su Ki Tuan Thu, Complete Annals of Jai Viet, credited Le Loi alone with victory. The 300,000 farmers were reduced to the masses, the people, or followers. Their counsels, their sacrifices, their vision of justice erased. For centuries, the Lam Sơn Uprising was taught as a tale of national liberation led by a wise king. The role of the peasantry was minimized, romanticized, or ignored. It wasn't until the 20th century, during Vietnam's struggles against French and American imperialism, that historians like Tran Trong Kim and later Marxist scholars revived the story of the People's Army. Yet even today, the full truth is uncomfortable. The Lam Sơn Uprising succeeded militarily, but failed politically. It proved that peasants could overthrow an empire, but not build a just society without structural change. Le Loi, for all his brilliance, chose dynasty over democracy, and the pattern echoes across history. The Roman plebeians who fought for Rome, only to be denied land after the Punic Wars. The English levelers of the 17th century, crushed after helping win the Civil War. The enslaved black soldiers of America's Revolutionary and Civil Wars, promised freedom, but given chains of another kind. The lesson is timeless. Revolutions that do not redistribute power are incomplete. Today, in the hills of Thanh Hoa, villagers still tell stories of the farmer soldiers who hid swords beneath their rice sacks. In Hanoi, a modest monument honors the Lam Son fighters, but it stands in the shadow of grander statues of kings and generals. Yet their legacy lives on in Vietnam's spirit of resistance. When Ho Chi Minh declared independence in 1945, he quoted the Bain Ngo Jai Khao. When farmers marched against colonialism, they carried the memory of 1428 in their bones. The 300,000 were never truly forgotten. They are the quiet pulse beneath every cry for justice in Vietnam, a reminder that freedom won on the battlefield must be secured in the halls of power. Otherwise, victory is just another kind of chains,